Hey folks, Luke with Alternate Arms. Now, today we're going to be doing a partial teardown of the P2P HDC68. We're going to be taking off all of these plastics so that if you want to dye it yourself, you absolutely can. I did reference Less Lethal Home Defense's video on this. It's a 45-minute video. It's fantastic. He goes over the entire full teardown of the launcher. But just to make it clear, today we're only going to be taking off the plastics. It's a relatively simple process, but it can be tedious, so I figured it'd be good to make a video over it. Now, before we begin, I want to go over the tools that we're going to be using today. So we're going to have 3 Allen keys. We have a 2.5 millimeter, a 3 millimeter, and a 5 millimeter. After which we're going to need a punch and a hammer or something similar to punch out a pin, as you're going to see later on. Afterwards, you're going to want to get a small Phillips head screwdriver, and then finally, this is optional, but a set of pliers. Now, before we begin, I do want to say this is actually a launcher that's going to be going out to a customer, so if you're watching, I emailed you about this, so yes, this is your launcher. All right, guys, let's roll into it. So we're going to start by removing the barrel. Now, we're going to take off the, well, I guess you would consider the muzzle flash. Once this is removed, we're going to take our pliers, which I put over here, and we're going to pop off the barrel. All right, to make sure we're getting, oh, sorry. First time filming a video like this, so it won't be as good as my father's, but it's fine. Now, we're going to take our 2.5 millimeter and we're going to pop off this screw on the top of the handguard. So this is actually what's connecting the handguard to the receiver. So we're going to pop off this screw. Doesn't have too many threads. Okay, comes all the way out. Keep all your screws in the same spot so you don't lose them. Next, we're going to have these 2 on the side. These are going to be 3 millimeter, and these are also what is attaching the handguard to the receiver. So we're going to pop these out real quick. Hoping you guys are getting a good view on this, hopefully. This one has quite a few more threads. And you guys will notice on these 2 in particular, there are some nuts on the other side. You can actually keep the nuts inside of the handguard. I RIT dyed the entire handguard with the nuts in them. Didn't cause any damage. They're actually secured in there really well, so you don't have to worry about them falling out. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. But okay, we're going to remove these 2, set it over here. These are the nuts that I'm referencing on the other side. Now, if you'd like, you can actually remove all of these screws to split the handguard, but in my case, I just need to remove it, so I'm just going to pop it up, and then you can just wiggle it out, and it pops out pretty easily. Now, this is where it gets a teeny bit complicated because we need to separate these plastics, and we're going to have to do a few things before we can separate these. I would recommend starting with the screws, so we're going to move on to the other side. So you have the side that says P2P or T4E. We're on the other side, and we're going to start by removing all of these screws. So I'm going to grab our little Phillips head. I went ahead and finished taking out all of these screws. What I would recommend doing is let's go ahead and do the easy things first. So we're actually going to pop off the velocity adjustment here on the back of the launcher. That velocity adjustment comes out as one of our screws fell out, no problem. And then we can actually go ahead and move forward with removing the grip. So with the grip, you're going to have a little tab down here. You're going to, or sorry, right here. You're going to pull that tab, it's going to pop out. So I'm going to pull it and pop it out. There we go. Inside of there, this is actually where your 5 millimeter is going to be used. So I have the 5 millimeter hex. We're going to go in there, and we're going to pop that out. And once you get this grip screw all the way out, the grip is just going to slide out. Pretty easy. Let's see. Okay, that has been removed. And now there's only one thing stopping you. That would be, as is usual if you've dealt with these before, the ambidextrous mag release. We hate these, by the way, in terms of taking it down. Before I do that, I'm actually going to go ahead and take my needle nose and gather up all of these screws so that none of them drop on the ground. So it's relatively easy, but it is important to do. You don't want to lose any of your screws. Coming onto this side, you have your ambidextrous mag release. And the way this works, there's actually a pin in here that is connecting the ambi part to the actual mag release. So you can actually see that split right there? When I push the mag release up, you're going to notice on your launcher, sorry, it's going to be tough to see, there's actually a pin right in here. And the pin needs to be pushed up towards the top of the launcher in order for it to be released. So the way that I found that was pretty easy to do it is I'll put the launcher upside down. I'm going to go ahead and, with my thumb actually, push the magazine release. I'm going to go ahead and let go so that now all the tension is on that pin. I'm going to just tap it with a hammer. Okay. And just like that, now you get to see what that pin looks like. Now we have our pin. Okay. I'm going to take my needle nose. We're going to pop that pin out real quick. Now, with that pin out, small parts, with that pin out, we are able to remove the ambi. So now with the ambi out, you have to remove the selector switches. The selector switches are very easy. These are just Phillips heads on each side of the launcher. So I'm just going to take our fancy screwdriver here, remove both of these Phillips heads. And these selector switches are actually on there fairly tightly, so you might have to remove the whole piece with this still attached since it is fit on there really tight. But we're going to take out the screws. So the screws are going to be removed. And once the screws have been loosened to the point of removal, you can actually start popping up the actual plastic shell component of this receiver. So for that, I actually have the little needles here. I'm going to go in and just kind of try to work it out. So we're going to make sure don't damage the launcher at all. And I'm going to show you guys a few things that you need to look out for whenever you go to remove this, because there are a few pieces that will fall apart whenever you take this thing apart. So the way this works, if you were aiming the gun down sight, the left side of the clamshell actually hosts the entire Picatinny rail, so it kind of flushes over. So I would recommend removing it from the right side, which is opposite of where the P2P or T4E stamp would be. You guys are going to see me try to do this on the video. Here we go. It kind of worked out for me. Okay, as you can see, the selector switch went with the shell because the selector switch is mounted directly onto the shell here. So I'm going to go ahead and set this over here for now. And just like that, this is going to come out. Now, if you do it this way, with the launcher laying on its left side, you won't have to worry about anything flying away. But I'm going to show you guys some pieces that can get separated if you don't do it this way. Let me just get this out, though. There we go. So you're essentially now left with the left shell. The two things that you might have to worry about falling out, this is actually the section that the grip screw screws into, so this just goes right back into the shell just like that. And then this right here is the pin that holds the velocity adjuster in. So this may fall out as well. So this just goes pin in just like that. Let me make sure I got a good view on the camera. Yeah, there we go. Now, I'm actually going to remove these components because we are going to be switching to our RIT dyed shell. We're going to start with the P2P side, which, by the way, came out pretty nice. We're going to go ahead and start here, and like I said, we're going to take this little guy, this little thing right here. We're going to go pin down into this hole. Oh, wait, sorry. This hole right here. So, pin down. I'm just going to set this down. We're going to make sure that we have the little grip screw piece in right here, and then you want to make sure that you have the velocity adjuster pin in right here. So both of these are in. And now we're going to start with reassembly of the launcher. So I'm going to grab the aluminum shell here. This is the whole piece. And this actually sits down really easy. Only fits one way, so if it doesn't work, you know you have it in wrong. I usually use the magazine release as my point of reference, so whenever you guys put this piece in, you're going to notice the magazine release fits in there nicely. And with that in, I'm going to grab the top of the shell. This is what the top of the shell looks like. And we're going to set it right onto this launcher. So with this together, now all we got to do, put in a bunch of screws, put our ambi switch back in, and of course our selector switches. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and take these screws, of which I have way too many, and I'm going to screw them back in. I always start with the top ones because those are the easiest since they are right next to the surface. So I'm going to go ahead and screw these in. We're going to now install the selector switches. So the selector switches are actually real simple because there's only one way they can go in. You have this flat end and then you have a square. As you can see, we have the flat end and the square. So they only go in one way and they're very, very easy to install. Okay, put it there and then we're going to go ahead and screw this in. Now since this is another surface level screw, I'm just going to use the drill. Okay, we'll go ahead and flip it and do this other side. Okay. There we go. And with both of those attached, we can go ahead and test it just to make sure that it moves easy. We can see both of those work. That pin I was telling you guys about earlier is right here actually, so that's where that is. But next thing is we're going to go ahead and set on our ambidextrous magazine release. So this is a relatively simple process. We're going to go ahead and push the magazine release to where it's open, set the ambi switch inside of here, and then the pin, you're going to go ahead and put smooth side in first from the top. So with that smooth side in, now all you have to do is line it up and then push down. The easiest way I found to get this pin in all the way is to take a set of needle nose and just kind of smush it in there. So we're going to pinch it from both sides and that will get it to where now it moves freely. Next order of business is going to be the grip. So we have our grip, hopefully with your grip screw in here. If the grip screw is not in here, it is a little bit of a pain to get back in. What I'd recommend doing is just, here, you know what? We'll act like that happened actually. Sometimes they'll fall out. If it falls out, it's a little annoying to get back in. So what I do is, get your 5mm, attach it, and then from the bottom, we're just gonna like push it up so that it looks like that. And to prevent it from falling out, we're going to actually flip the launcher onto its top and we're going to set the grip in, screw it down. It's not too difficult to tear down, it's just a little time consuming. That's really all it is. So for those of you who are still waiting on your black launchers, I do apologize. It's a bit more involved than I had initially expected, so it's taking a minute. All right, now with the grip on there securely, as you can see, the only thing we really need to do is just put the launcher back together. So we have our grip cover here, which only goes one way. Only goes in one way on the grip cover. You have the cover for your velocity adjuster here, which we're going to go ahead and just push that in. Okay, and that's fit in there good. You can see the pin right there. Okay, and finally, we're actually going to throw this handguard and the barrel back on. So handguard only goes in one way, and this is a little bit of a finicky part because if you didn't take it apart, you're going to have to kind of finagle it in here, which it's not that difficult, but finagled it in there. We're going to take our 2.5 mil, take your thin long screw, which is going to go in from the top. This will be the first attachment point from the handguard to the receiver. Screw that in. Oh, there it is. I was wondering why that didn't quite fit. Okay. And now, as you guys saw when we did this earlier, we have the two nuts on this side. Bolts are going to go in from the other side, obviously, and these should go almost all the way through before they have to get threaded. Now, sometimes they don't. Yep, that works good. So we're going to push these in to where they're basically meeting up with the nuts on the end, and then you're going to take your 3 millimeter, and we're going to screw these in. With those securely fastened, I'm going to now take our barrel. Barrel is going to go all the way down into the launcher, and it's going to screw in clockwise. Just standard threading. These aren't reverse threaded like airsoft, thankfully. Okay, And with it threaded, this is basically put together. The only thing we would really need to do is put the hopper cover back on, but that's not really required at the moment. This is just for putting it back together. But since I have you guys here, I might as well do a direct comparison between the two. So we're going to go ahead and set, let's see if I can get a good view of these launchers. We have a direct side-by-side for RIT dyed and non-RIT dyed. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, and sorry for the occasional cuts. I was getting phone calls throughout this entire video, but hopefully this was pretty easy for you guys to knock out. Have a great one.